Hello big boss. I do hope that you're doing great today and you're having an awesome day wherever you are. So today I want us to talk about dimensions. Let's talk about dimensions. What are the best dimensions for your residential project and what usually guides the best option or the choice of these dimensions for your project? Of course, if this is your first time here, a subscription from a person who is as important as you are will mean a lot to me. Once I see that notification that you, my friend, you have subscribed, I will feel so excited that I'm going to jump out through the window to the ground, and I can assure you that I'll go down shouting your name. And of course, my window is only 300 millimeters from the ground, and don't try this at home, you might hurt yourself and wake up to find yourself dead the next day. So maybe someday we can also talk about the choice of windows. The choice of openings for your house. There is a code which determines the number or the sizes of openings that you need for your house, but I know that most people don't know that. Most people just place them where they want. But in this one, we want to talk about dimensions, and sometimes we do visualizations for a few people or a few clients that we have, and there are some people who send you the drawing. Once you have a look at it, the design looks so amazing, but with the dimensions there's something wrong with it. Some might be too small, others too big, but majority the dimensions are like too large man. The dimensions too big. So that's what we want to do today, and maybe you can be able to, maybe my video might help you to be able to avoid such problems in the future. And sometimes you have just started draw and you're just doing your first project and you're having a problem with going with the dimensions. So that's what we want to talk about today and be able to guide you on the best way of choosing those dimensions. And of course, this is gonna be a long one, and I don't have a lot of time to record everything at the time that I'm recording this, so we're only going to deal with a few parts and also talk about the dimensions of the corridor, the best one that you want to choose for your corridor. And then later on we'll talk about the living room, then we can be able to talk about the master as well as those guest bedroom or kids bedroom, and as well as the kitchen, the dining, the best dimensions to go with depending with your client. But for this part, of course, we have this dialogue, we have this script that we are reading. The stuff that I wrote down that I'm reading. The stuff that I wrote down which I'm reading right now, and that's what we are following. Even these words that I'm saying right now, like the word right now, is the stuff that I wrote down. So I'm just reading them, and we are going to read only the part that we can be able to record and make a video for it today. So of course, the first thing that usually guides the choice of your dimensions is the floor area ratio. Now the floor area ratio is you're taking the summation of all the floors within your building, the summation of the area of all the floors within your building, and you're dividing that value by the land site area. So this mostly affects commercial spaces. It doesn't affect the residential spaces a lot, and in places where this one is followed, you will hardly find that you have, maybe like some places here in Kenya, you'll find you have a very, someone has an 9-story building, the next to it you find that the neighbor has built like a 6 or 10-story building, which of course is kind of uncool. Not really cool. But if they follow the floor area ratio, it will be able to guide, like in a certain region, you'll find that you only have buildings that range within a certain number of floors. In some places, you'll find that they have said, for instance, in this place, maybe if you calculate the floor area ratio, you'll find that you can't build beyond maybe a 3rd floor or a 4th floor. So this helps a lot in such cases, and I think it's only applicable here in Kenya, it's only applicable in Nairobi, that's where I'm sure. Then we have the building land ratio. Now the building land ratio is you're taking the total area of the place that your building is going to cover once it's constructed, and you're dividing that by the land size. This is different from the floor area ratio. Remember, the floor area ratio was the summation of the area for all the floors within a building, but the building land ratio or the building coverage ratio, you're just taking the area on the ground or on the site where your building is going to cover, and you're dividing that value by the land or the site area. And it usually varies between 30 to 80% depending with where you are and the local building code, as well as in Kenya, of course, the county code that is in existence. And this one, in like, if you go to a county like Kakamega, you will find that they want you to cover 60%. The building land ratio is 65%, and they want you to leave that 5% what they call the circulation and future development. So this of course is important. You want to leave some part maybe for landscaping, will help your house. If you're doing the residential space, it will help it to look more better or more appealing. And maybe your client in future wants to build, wants to maybe add a gazebo or a car garage, something like that. You will need that extra space, which of course this is very important. And some people don't follow this actually. You go to set out a building, then surprisingly you find that your building is actually larger or is bigger than the plot where you're supposed to build it, or the land or the site. I mean, the building is bigger than the site. So these are the cases where people have or they have not followed really the building or the building coverage ratio. If you follow it well, you're not going to do that. You're not going to design a building that will be able to cover your whole land or the whole land. Now, of course, sometimes you're going to find a client, and your client, maybe he wants something so big. He's telling you that, look, man, I want you to build for me a master bedroom that is so spacious and so big. I can even play like a football game from my master bedroom. I can do a marathon from my master bedroom and stuff like that. But remember, it is you who is in control when it comes to the choice of dimension, and you should tell your client why you can't do that, or tell him if you want to do that, then maybe you should go to somewhere else and buy something like 30 acres of land so that you can be able to build for you something which is that big. So remember that you're in control, and you're supposed to use the building codes or the local codes when it comes to the building land ratio on deciding the size of building or the area of the building that will be able to cover that site. And that being said, the last part, of course, when it comes to the clients, the last part is the client's budget. The clients, of course, makes a lot of decision in whatever you're doing. So the budget of the client is very important. How big or how small is the budget of your client? And of course, sometimes it also comes to the dreams of your clients. Some clients, maybe he has a lot of money, but what he wants is just something small, not really big. He just wants a small house. And there are those who, of course, want something so big, too big, bigger than maybe what you are expecting. So you just go through with them and try to understand them, what they want, and you have a look at the land that they have, maybe the amount of money that they want to spend on the project. Then that should be able to guide you well when you're choosing the dimensions. Now, when it comes to the corridor, what you want to do, the corridor you want to stick with 900 and 1200, those two dimensions, depending with your client. If your client, for instance, wants something that is low budget, then you might want to choose 900, but don't go below 900. If it is high budget, then you might want to go with 1200. If you want, you can go with above that, but a corridor that's above 1200, man, it will be just too big and that won't make sense. So you want to go with something that's 1200, and you want to stick with 900 and 1200 because of the tiles which are readily available in the market. Most tiles are 300, 600 and 900. I mean, factors which are divisible by 3. So you want to stick with that, so that, say your corridor is 1200 mm and they're using tiles of 300 mm. When they're going to place those tiles, they won't find a situation where they will have to cut the tiles, and because the tiles did not fit perfectly. The 4 tiles will fit in perfectly. So that's what you want to do when you're choosing the dimensions. And the next time, you're going to talk about a different room and the best dimension to stick with on the low end, high end, and average. Thank you for watching to this part, of course.